Madam President.
The senator from Kentucky.
Madam President, I'd like to respond to the Democratic leader, and particularly in view of what my leader just said about bipartisanship. It seems that last week there was a bipartisan agreement between the members of the Finance Committee on the very issue that the Democratic leader spoke on. It was called the Baucus-Grassley Compromise Bill. It never got to the floor of the Senate. That was a bipartisan bill that was set aside for a very partisan bill that Senator Reid brought to the floor and rammed through, instead of the bipartisan bill, which had all of these extended benefits included in them. Extended unemployment benefits, COBRA health care assistance, flood insurance, highway bill assistance, the Medicare doc fix, small business loans, distant network channel for rural satellite television, and other things. It's really hypocritical of the Democratic side of this aisle passing a pay-go bill. What does the pay-go mean? It means that you pay for the bills as they appear on the floor of the U.S. Senate. And then to present a bill that not only is not paid for, but just paid for a little bit, paid for a third of. And that was the Reid bill on the jobs bill that he presented to us. $5 billion was paid for, $10 billion was not. And then immediately to follow with a UC, which is not a bill that we normally deal with on a unanimous consent like this. We have unanimous consents that are much more different than this. This is a House bill that you've asked unanimous consent for. Regular order could prevail, and the leader of this Senate could put this bill under cloture and get his vote. He'll get his 60-plus votes, and normal procedure will occur. That is the normal way to deal with this bill. Now, just so you understand that not everybody, all Americans, feel like my dear friend from Maine and the majority leader of the Senate, I'm going to read a letter and enter it into the record, please. So I ask unanimous consent to enter this letter from a constituent of mine from Louisville.
Without objection.
And I'm going to read it also because it's very important that the people understand that there are other sides of this. Dear Senator Bunning, I haven't worked a full 40-hour week in probably 2 years now. But I fully support your decision to stand up to those in Congress who want to do nothing more than to spend the taxpayers' money, even the money they do not have, on unemployment extension benefits. So far this year, I have worked a total of 1 week here in Louisville, Kentucky. My employer is a sheet metal fabrication plant with its main headquarters based in Cincinnati, Ohio. Normally, the Louisville branch would employ upward to 50 people on any given day if business were good. Recently, that number has dwindled to about 4. This country is sooner or later going to implode because of the massive amount of debt run up over the past 40 to 50 years. Selling the nation's soul to countries like communist China in order to finance our lifestyle and allow the government to further debase the currency is sheer lunacy. Throwing hundreds of billions of dollars so executives on Wall Street can keep their multi-billion-dollar bonuses while others in a society worry about keeping the electricity on and their children fed only helps to move this country closer to a long overdue revolution. The problem is by then we won't even own it anymore. Politicians on both sides enjoy getting up in front of television cameras and talking about their support of the pay-as-you-go plan. But when it comes down to actually doing what they say, they all run for cover and vote for anything they think will win them another vote or another term. Your stance in holding them to their words and expecting them to actually do what they voted for is a refreshing concept in an otherwise corrupt and hypocrisy-based power base known as Washington, D.C. It's too bad Senator Mitch McConnell and some of the elected officials on your side of the aisle do not have the backbone of your sense of decency when it comes to keeping their promises to the American people. And for security's sake, I'm just going to read his first name. It says, sincerely, Robert from Louisville. Now, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that I have supported extension of unemployment benefits, COBRA health care benefits, flood insurance, highway bill. I was the one who proposed the Medicare doc fix on a permanent basis in the Finance Committee. Small business loans, distant network television, and all the other things that are in this temporary bill. So I just want to set the record straight. The majority leader has all the tools in his kit, and he normally exercises them, and I think he's about to do that on the bill currently before us, which we call the large job bill. He soon will invoke cloture to cut off debate. He normally doesn't even allow amendments. He will file cloture, fill the tree. By filling the tree, that means the amendment tree, which allows the Republicans no alternatives but just to vote for cloture or not cloture. And then, unfortunately, we have 30 hours of debate immediately following cloture. I'm going to propose one more time my unanimous consent request. I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 4691, that the amendment at the desk, which offers a full offset, be agreed to, the bill be amended as read for a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
The majority leader.
Reserving the right to object. Madam President, I'm sorry that my friend from Kentucky has made this so personal because it really shouldn't be the case. But let me just review history a little bit. The senator from Kentucky talks about the bill we voted on and passed last week as being very partisan. That bill received 70 votes. It was a very partisan bill, a very nonpartisan bill, I should say. It was a bipartisan bill. Received 70 votes. Why did it receive 70 votes? Because it did some great things for America. It extended the highway bill for a year, saving 1 million jobs. It gave small businesses the right to write off $250,000 in purchases, stimulating small businesses all over America. It gave employers the ability to hire people who had been out of work for 60 days. And if they hired them, they wouldn't have to pay their FICA tax if they gave them 30 hours a week. Not only that, they'd get a $1,000 tax credit at the end of the year. Really a good proposal. We also extended Build America bonds, which were so important in the American Recovery Act. And Democrats and Republicans all over the country, governors, mayors, county commissioners, loved that proposal. So it was certainly not a partisan bill. And he was right. The other bill he talked about wasn't brought to the floor. I would also say this, Madam President. It was paid for. Not a cent of deficit spending. Not a cent. It's interesting that my friend would talk about PAYGO. He voted against PAYGO. He's talking about PAYGO now. He voted against it. He voted against it right here in the Senate floor. If he so liked PAYGO, why didn't he vote for it? He voted against it. The senator from Kentucky voted against PAYGO. That has no applicability to the jobs bill that passed because it was paid for. The doc fix. He talks about having voted for it in committee. He voted against it here on the floor. So my friend just is, he's throwing around words like hypocrite. People can make their own decision as to who is a hypocrite. I'm not calling anyone a hypocrite, although I'm just stating the facts. Someone boasts about the good offices of PAYGO but votes against it, talks about the doc fix but votes against it. So I would think that my friend from Kentucky should get a different historian to help him with his facts because they're simply wrong, and I object.
The objection is heard.
Madam President, I will only continue for
Senator from Kentucky.
2 minutes. Why would you vote for a bill when you know it's not going to be honored? Why would you vote for a bill that you knew was going to be violated in the first bill brought to the floor after you passed it? As far as the doc fix is concerned, I have a history with the doc fix that I don't need to defend to the majority leader or to anybody in this body. Just check with the Kentucky Medical Association and all my doctors that I represent in Kentucky. I think the gentleman's letter from Louisville states the facts better than me. We want a country that my 40 grandchildren have the same abilities that I did growing up. We want a country that don't owe everybody in the world for our existence. And the question I've been asked mostly is why now? Well, why not now? What better time for it than to stand up when the majority leader has the ability to do exactly on this bill what he has done on 25 bills in the last 5 months. File cloture, fill the tree, and vote yay or nay. Get the 60 votes, pass the bill, and extend these temporary benefits. Rather than pass, or we may be pass this other bill, I hope we do, that will extend them on a permanent basis for a year, to the end of the year anyway. I think it's very important that people understand that I have the same right that he does. He was elected by people in Nevada with fewer people than people in Kentucky. So I have the same right as any other senator here on the floor. And it's not a filibuster when you object. And that ought to be brought out clearly. A filibuster is when you stand on this floor and you talk and talk and talk. I have not done that. I yield the floor.
The Majority Leader.
I know my friend from Tennessee and Texas wished to speak, but I do have to respond because I was mentioned again. Madam President, I can't match now or ever in the past my friend's fastball or his curveball or his 40 grandchildren. But I do have 16 grandchildren. But I do think it's important to understand that the reasoning is a little unusual. He said, I wouldn't vote for a bill that I thought would not be upheld at a later time, or the procedures in the bill not followed it. I don't know why anyone is entitled to being the judge and the jury. You pass legislation, and if it's the law, then there are ways of upholding that. Now, Madam President, with PAYGO, we have some experience. We know it works. It worked during the Clinton years. We paid down the national debt as a result of what happened during the Clinton years. PAYGO was dismissed during the Bush years. Now, my friend talks about the debt. He wants to make sure that the debt doesn't go up. Where was he during the Bush years? Unpaid wars, 2 wars unpaid for, taxes unpaid for, running up trillions of dollars of red ink for the American people. I say this also, Madam President. We've tried to address that. We asked for a debt commission to be established. We did that by legislation here on the floor. My friend didn't vote for that. He didn't vote for PAYGO. So we're trying on the floor. We have legislation that will resolve this issue. Now, what my friend says is a little unusual. He said, why doesn't the leader file for cloture use up a week or 10 days, waste that time, and then hold off getting to all the other things? That doesn't make sense, Madam President. It just is without any sense. When in fact, with his withdrawing his objection, we could get it done just like that. We wouldn't have to waste a week or 10 days. But he's made his stand. I think it's wrong, as does the American people, as does, I'm sure, the people of Kentucky, in spite of the letter from Robert.